Bonjour, bienvenidos a todos. Es un placer tenerlos. Welcome to the first day of the UNESCO Chair in Democracy, Global Citizenship, and Transformative Education Symposium. It is an honor and a privilege to be with you today and to kick off this long-awaited event. My name is Julie Bergeron, and I will be your host for the first 15 minutes of each day of this symposium. Like this butacada that we just saw, shared by Anija Producciones, recorded in Colombia, I wish this experience that we will live together to be festive, vibrant, and unique for each of us, but also to be an experience that we share, a form of exchange, a unique creation, and a common landmark. May our symposium be, as a percussion teacher well said, arts brings people together. This is the opportunity to create together in all that we have as differences or similarities. The creative encounter can change the status that we are just together to solve a problem, but that we are together to create an energy. We have therefore chosen to immerse ourselves in arts in all of its forms in order to awaken our senses and our creativity in these times of pandemic, while we are lacking of human warmth, wonders, and discoveries. At the same time, we would like to offer our gratitude to artists in the fields of art and culture who are greatly affected by the current planetary health and social context, and without whom our daily lives would be much more difficult. Although the central theme of this symposium is not art, we believe that awakening all our senses will make us more conducive to exchanges and to the emergence of avenues for all creative solutions that we need. Today, it is thanks to two great thinkers and instigators that we have come together here virtually to produce together this creative and reflective energy. These two are the one who taught, developed, created, and implemented the UNESCO-DCMÉT. Without further ado, I present you Paul Carr and Gina Teze, both co-holders of the chair. They will say a few words and will briefly share their vision with us.
Bonjour à toutes et à tous. Au nom du comité organisateur, des organismes partenaires et des membres de la chaire UNESCO en démocratie, citoyenneté mondiale et éducation transformatoire, chaire UNESCO-DCMÉT, il nous fait plaisir de vous présenter aujourd'hui, mais surtout de vous inviter à assister à notre symposium international intitulé « La démocratie, la citoyenneté mondiale et l'éducation transformatoire, nouvelles perspectives pour comprendre, s'entendre et agir ensemble ».
Tout d'abord, nous voudrions reconnaître que nos universités, l'Université du Québec en Outaouais et l'Université du Québec à Montréal, se trouvent respectivement sur des terres faisant partie des territoires traditionnels, non cédés, de la nation algonquine Anishinaabe et de la nation Kanyenkeaka. Nous espérons que tout le monde soit uni en solidarité et en paix en ce moment de pandémie mondiale. En même temps qu'on avoue des inégalités sociales augmentées et une remise en question de nos institutions, nos systèmes et nos valeurs politico-économiques, on a aussi vu des mobilisations, des actions et des propositions qui nous démontrent l'humanité, l'interdépendance et le souci de se réimaginer ensemble. Notre symposium, comme tout ce qui se passe en ce moment à cause de la COVID, doit avoir lieu entièrement en ligne. En notant que cela représente des défis importants, nous avons aussi trouvé des opportunités telles que l'inclusion des voix et des gens qui n'auraient pas pu assister à un symposium en présentiel. Le symposium se veut un projet collectif de réflexion, discussion, co-création de savoir et production entre et avec des chercheurs, des éducateurs, des activistes, des organismes, la société civile et autres à travers le monde. Les objectifs généraux sont les suivants. Comprendre ensemble, selon des perspectives sociales critiques novatrices, les enjeux et défis sociaux et environnementaux qui agitent le monde d'aujourd'hui. S'entendre ensemble à propos des savoirs novateurs, scientifiques, pratiques, expérientiels, etc., associés aux 3 grands thèmes du symposium. Agir ensemble de manière novatrice dans les divers volets de la mission de la chaire UNESCO-DCMÉT, la recherche, la formation, le partenariat, la diffusion et le rayonnement.
Les 3 axes thématiques du Symposium international sont en fait les 3 thèmes interreliés de la chaire UNESCO, démocratie, citoyenneté mondiale et éducation transformatoire. Pour mieux comprendre les axes thématiques du Symposium, je vais vous expliquer le logo de la chaire. Le logo comprend 4 figures de 4 couleurs différentes associées aux 4 éléments fondamentaux. La figure verte est associée à la démocratie et à l'élément R. La figure bleue est associée à la citoyenneté mondiale et à l'élément O. La figure brune est associée à l'éducation transformatoire et à l'élément terre, terre nourricière, terre socle. Le cercle orange est associé à l'élément feu, l'énergie qu'il faut pour catalyser les transformations sociales et interrelier la démocratie, la citoyenneté mondiale et l'éducation transformatoire.
Très humblement, nous avons élaboré un symposium très ambitieux en essayant d'être le plus inclusif et engageant possible.
So thank you, Paul and Gina, for this really interesting speech. In order to officially start this symposium, we will now have a special invitee, Mrs. Cecilia Barbieri. But first, let me introduce and explain her past in UNESCO. In September 2019, she joined the section of Global Citizenship and Peace Education as chief, coming from the UNESCO Regional Bureau for Education in Latin America and the Caribbean in Santiago, Chile, where she was in charge of the Education 2030 section. Before joining UNESCO Santiago, she has worked as education specialist with UNESCO since 1999, mainly in Africa and Asia. Prior to joining the organization, she worked in the field of technical and vocational training and institutional capacity building, and was engaged for many years in culture of peace, human rights, and intercultural education. A social science graduate from the University of Bologna, Italy, she continued education in international humanitarian law, education psychology, and educational policy and planning. So it is my pleasure to let her introduce officially the symposium from the UNESCO.
Thank you very much, Julie, and thanks to you all actually for the honor of inviting me to be with you for this opening today. So on behalf of UNESCO, it is really a pleasure to participate in this in the opening of this international symposium on democracy, on global citizenship and transformative education. And let me start by saying that the themes for this symposium are really at the heart of today's challenges. And you know, just to recall the what we have seen in the video with the presentation of the logo for the symposium, that which I really appreciate, and you know, it made me really think how these 3 elements really look like the 3 legs of a stool, right? They are all the 3 interrelated and mutually reinforcing. If we miss one, then the stool will not be balanced. So I really congratulate congratulations for that. It's very symbolic. As inequalities are widening and societies are increasingly fragmented, we are all witnessing an erosion of democratic values around the world. And in the most comprehensive worldwide study that we have to date, more than half of people reported being dissatisfied with democratic politics, according to the Cambridge University Center for the Future of Democracy. Some of you may be familiar with that. Young people's trust in government institutions to serve their interests has also weakened to historic lows in the last 10 to 15 years. And less than half of youth surveyed expressed trust in their country's parliaments, and slightly more than half in the judicial systems, in another study that was conducted by the OECD. And I think we can agree this is quite a worrisome picture. The global pandemic, the global COVID-19 pandemic, has also highlighted the fragilities of government institutions all around the world that have been challenged in addressing these massive crises, starting with the education sector. And all the ones among you that work in education, in the education system, know that more than 1.6 billion children and young people have lost instructional time for many months at a time, if not for much of the last year. And many of these children are still not back in school, if they will ever go back, with girls particularly at risk, we know, of never being able to return. We have also seen during this crisis, this unprecedented crisis, a rise in the so-called fake news and disinformation that are fueling conspiracy theories, that are fueling intolerance and hate speech, that are also fueling a mistrust of in science. So this information failure risks leaving a long-lasting effect on young people's already declining trust in our institution and in our governments. So the critical challenges of our times, inequalities, climate change, the rise of disinformation and hate speech, declining trust, can only be truly tackled as a cohesive global community which is bound by a strong social fabric. And at UNESCO, we believe actually that quality education, and education that is of quality and that is equitable, is really the first line of defense to address this global challenge. And we believe that education is a core priority because it is a basic human right and it is the foundation on which to build more just society. And this is very much clear as a key message of the Education 2030 agenda and the Agenda 2030 at large. As we speak, the education sector, we know, is under a huge pressure to deal with the impacts of the pandemic, which has led to the longest school closure in decades, as we have mentioned. And it is actually expected that over 100 million additional children will fall below the minimum proficiency level in reading as a result also of this health crisis. So we see how this is interlinked. So education systems worldwide are being pressed to rise to the challenge of filling in the gaps. However, we should also not lose sight of the fact that education is not just about literacy, numeracy, and developing work-related skills when we want to build back better our society. Right? Education must also involve fostering global citizens which are equipped with the knowledge, with the skills, with the attitudes, with the values and the behavior to contribute to the building of more just, of more democratic and more sustainable societies. And as UNESCO, we promote a vision of education as a transformative experience to give learners the opportunities and the competencies to realize their rights and obligations to promote a better world and future. And this is really part of our efforts to accompany, to work with all our member states in the organization in implementing this 2030 agenda, an agenda that has a set of goals, as you all know, and that has one in particular that is focused on education, that has one target, which is target 4.7, that we think really captures this intent, that promote a humanistic and holistic vision of education that responds to today's challenges. And it underlines the importance of gearing education towards the achievement of a sustainable development and also sustainable lifestyles, of human rights, of gender equality, of the promotion of a culture of peace and non-violence, of global citizenship, and of the appreciation of cultural diversity, which is very much, I can see, the agenda that you have for this week for the symposium. So to achieve this, we need to build bridges between teachers, educators, communities, families, and public and private actors as well. Education in all its form, and we say education which is lifelong and it's also life-wide, has a key role to play in reimagining social and economic structures and building back better for society that can really be more peaceful, just, and equal. And I think we need that more than ever. Education must also rise to the challenge of promoting citizenship in the digital era. The pandemic we see has highlighted also the lack of preparedness of education system and actors in this regard, especially apparent given the torrent of misinformation and conspiracy theories related to COVID. And is therefore fundamental that we invest in an education that can prepare an informed generation of digital citizens that know how to be responsible, both online, but also in the physical world. And with this in mind, I really would like to wish a fruitful deliberation during this international symposium this week, but allow me also to congratulate, before I close, the UNESCO chair, which is a very precious life for us, and in particular Paul and Gina, for having brought together all these participants from so many countries from all over the world. And we really think this symposium provides a great foundation to connect researchers from all sides of the world, from all regions, and key actors from formal, non-formal, informal context to build together an international cross-disciplinary programs for the chair. So we really look forward to continuing to work with you in this exciting journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Barbieri. It was really interesting to have you. So we will continue. I just want to say, because we want to let Paul do his presentation. So I just want to say that we have superstars today, and we are so happy to have them. But you should know that we are all stars, and a symposium like that, to be successful, we have to participate and fill up the sky with all of our lights. And for sure, we are gonna talk about sensitive subjects. So we wanna be sure that everybody is respectful and that we feel safe here and that we grow together in this great symposium. So you should know that at all time you can use the translation button on your Zoom, so you can listen the presentation in the language of your choice. And you can also put the questions or comments on the chat function, like the conversation function, at all time, and somebody will try to answer quickly. And that the first session of each day is in one language but translated in the others. So Paul will speak in English, Michael in English, and Gina and Lucy will be speaking in French. So you can listen the translation, and each session after that is in a proper language. So you have to choose the one in which you are comfortable. So these are the partners, and we have to really thank the people behind those institutions that are helping with this symposium, because without them, it wouldn't be possible. So thank you for your time, your energy, and your knowledge.